How's it going, guys? It's your boy ConcertViz34, and the following clip that you just heard was actually from a taper of a show I went to, my first ever Linkin Park show, my first ever major amphitheater show that I'd ever been to back on July 20th, 2008. And this was an amazing concert to start off what's been a great run of show after show after show every spring, summer, fall, winter. It never stops. And this was really the first memories I have at a big amphitheater, not a small, kind of local show or, out in some park or somewhere. Like, this was a huge show. And I want to talk today about the passing of the lead singer, vocalist of Linkin Park, Chester Bennington, and the unfortunate passing, which was yesterday, 9 years to the day of my first ever Linkin Park show, and that was on yesterday, July 20th, 2017. It still seems unreal. It's to kind of realize that someone who sang many songs of your childhood, of your adolescence, to have an unfortunate and untimely death by their own means. It's a very hard thing to kind of think about. And then if you go back to the clip that I just played, that was a show where it was Chris Cornell's birthday, who took his life earlier this year in May. And it was an awesome moment on stage where Linkin Park performed one of their hits, "Crawling," and Chris Cornell sang kind of as a support vocalist during that show for "Crawling," and they bring a cake out on stage for his birthday, and it's a really cool moment. And it was an awesome and unique show to be at. Not only to see Chris Cornell be the last act before Linkin Park took the stage, but to see Chester perform "Hunger Strike" with Chris during his set, and then Chris perform vocals for "Crawling" on the Linkin Park set. It was definitely a great day. So that's why yesterday, when I got the news from various reports, waited, thought it was fake, thought it was, I wanted to believe it wasn't true, and to get the confirmation that it was true was very sad. So that's kind of my unique story to what's been a terrible year. Every year is a terrible year. We lose so many musical legends every year, but to be tied, to be able to be my first concert was a Linkin Park show, and Chris Cornell, who's arguably even a bigger legend, who just happened to be supporting this band on the rise at that time, which was Linkin Park. It was a very unique experience. But for the band and what Chester did is really, he was a voice of an entire generation of adolescents like me. I was 10 when I first heard Linkin Park. Hybrid Theory had came out in October of 2000, I believe, and a couple months later I got the album. And one of the cool things about Linkin Park was, at that time, especially someone like me, my parents didn't want me listening to anything with kind of swearing or cursing or any type of bad language. So Linkin Park was accessible to kids because there wasn't any explicit content. There were serious issues talked about on the first album, and even the second and third, and they've always tackled some serious issues. But it was still cleaned up for kids like me who were preteens or teenagers, for parents to give the okay for them to listen to it, and thus hours upon hours of listening to Linkin Park ensued from late 2000 all the way through until really up to now. I've just kind of been on and off in the last couple of years, given the band and my other interest in other types of music. But what this band did and what Chester did is something that you have to be a part of that generation to understand. From the surface, Linkin Park can seem like a cookie cutter, cheesy, mainstream, popular, just radio friendly band that musically you may say, oh, I don't respect that, or they have all this electronic stuff now. And even me personally, on the last album, I wasn't the biggest fan, as you saw in a previous video, of the last album. But what Linkin Park and what Chester and Mike and the rest of the crew, Phoenix and Rob and Mr. Hahn, what they've done to an entire generation of kids can't go unnoticed, regardless of what you think of how their music sounds. They've saved so many lives, and it's unfortunate. Just like with Chris Cornell, his music saved so many lives. Just the previous generation before, during the grunge era, and to see Chris take his life earlier this year, and see Chester take his life yesterday, it's very it's a hard thing to swallow, especially because of the impact they've made and the struggles they overcome, both of them, as far as with drugs and different addictions. With Chester being abused sexually as a child, to overcome that and see the progress and see how he's grown into being a man. Same thing again with Chris. When people that are artists in the mainstream pass away at a young age, even if some people may say, oh, 41 is old, but it's still young. And even with Chris, who I believe would be 53 by now, he was 52. It's unfortunate to see, but it really, when things like this happen, you can't doubt what the power of music does. People say, oh, you have to know this person, you have to live with this person to grieve, but that's not true. That's BS in my opinion, because music can touch you more than any other physical person can touch you, especially being an adolescent like I was, and millions of other kids were, where you don't want to always listen to your parents or listen to the people around you. But a musician has the power to change your life, to influence you for better or for worse. And in many cases with Linkin Park, their music gave hope to kids that were lost, trying to find themselves, that didn't fit in, or maybe they did fit in, or people thought they were cool, but they still didn't have a true identity of who they were. So it is a very unfortunate situation, but rest in peace to Chester, and my prayers go out and thoughts go out to the family. He has 6 kids, and he was married, and the entire band, as far as they're in the middle of a tour, just very similar, or eerily similar to the way Chris and Soundgarden were experiencing a tour, and there's a suicide. I can't imagine the difficult times the band is going through. So my wishes to them. Those were my heroes growing up. So nothing but the best to the entire band: Rob, Mr. Hahn, Phoenix, and Mike Shinoda. You guys stay strong and continue to be who you are, because we do appreciate you. But that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. What are some memories you have of Linkin Park? But that's pretty much it. I'm out.